All right, we're going to get started here. Welcome to week 4 live lecture. We are going to be talking about your final week this week with all of your projects, kind of wrapping everything up. So please make sure that you are reading the past feedback. If you submitted your projects late, I'm actually getting through them. I got through a lot of them today, actually. So go ahead and make those suggested changes going forward for your final project. Make sure you are making those changes because that will be, a big part of your grade as well. So hopefully you guys are in a good spot going forward with all of your identity pieces. And just a few things that we're going to go over today. We're going to talk about the principles of graphic design, do a little review. And we're going to look at changing colors from spot to process. Sometimes that could be a little confusing, so I wanted to go over that, just a quick demo just to show you kind of how to check and switch those and convert them. That is an important part of the process because, if you're working on a project that has spot colors in it and you are producing that same project for other purposes, say the client came to you and said, we don't really want to spend the money on the spot colors. We want to just go for color process with the next project or with this going forward. You can easily convert those with the steps that I'm going to go show you again, and we'll do a review for that. Preparing a document for print through packaging. Some of you guys are still struggling with that, and I went over in week 2 and week 3 a step-by-step demo on how to properly package your files in InDesign. So I definitely will go over that again, but that's something that you guys need to know how to do, because when you get out there and start working with real projects, you'll need to at one point package your files up either for a printer or say another design company or designer who will be working with your files. They'll need all of your and that's the important thing. When you package your files, the purpose of doing that is when you're sending somebody your native file, if you're not packaging your files correctly, that you're going to have problems viewing images. It's going to try to link up to images that were in your folder and on your computer or wherever you originally designed it. And also your fonts. Don't kind of assume that everybody has your typefaces. So you could have some issues with that, especially when you send it to a printer if you're not sending a PDF. Now, when you send a high quality, press quality PDF to a printer, a lot of those syncing issues are not, obviously you're not going to have those issues because it's a flat file. So, a lot of printers do accept PDFs as the final print file, but it's always good to know how to package your files as well. Week 4 final assessment, we'll go ahead and go over your final projects. A lot of it is just review, except for you will be doing a little bit of an additional step with your files, which will be placing your files into a Behance web page and sending it to the link to myself and also your advisor. So we'll talk about that. Critique of student work, just kind of make sure that you are, again, going back, reading my feedback, and making the necessary changes so that you can, effectively, make those changes to your project so that they are more effective and, they're not just staying the same through each week. That the whole point of the critiques is to evolve and push your work. So make sure you're doing that. All right, so we have a week 4 discussion as well. We'll talk about that today. We'll do a little review. So make sure you're getting that the initial post in by Wednesday before midnight for credit. And you will need to respond to 2 different peers as well, just the same as you always have. All late assignments and assessments are due by Saturday before midnight. This is what's important about this week is I cannot accept any work that's late past the due date for this week. So don't wait until the last minute to upload as well. Some of the files that you'll be uploading are going to be large. So if you have issues, you want to make sure you don't wait till the last minute. Any and all redos of previous assignments are due no later than Tuesday at midnight. So make sure you're getting that in. All right, just a little bit of a review here. We talked about the principles of graphic design. This is something that will always be brought up in your classes because this is the foundation of what we do. The principles, if you have a solid foundation of the principles of graphic design, then that's good because it gives you a, it will definitely make your work stronger from the start. And every single project that you work on, you want to make sure you're keeping that in mind. Contrast, some of you guys struggle with this a little bit with your posters. I noticed that some of the contrast wasn't quite there and made it hard, say, to read typefaces or the logo, or body copy, I should say. And so make sure you have enough contrast. It doesn't have to be, strikingly contrasted, but it has to be enough so that, if you have body copy, it's readable. If you have a logo, it's not fading into the background. And having that contrast does kind of pull the eye to a particular area. So if you want, obviously the eye to go somewhere first, second, third, you want to make sure that contrast is where that first area is. It's kind of like the hierarchy of elements. Repetition. So this was probably used more so with your, let's think here, with your trifold brochure because you were using panels and maybe you had a certain repetition of elements. Maybe it was, boxes that were behind your type. Maybe it was a photograph that you had, a specific size that you had on each panel that was in repetition. And so you use repeated elements to direct, organize, and structure your pieces. Alignment. This is a big thing. This is one of the hardest, most critiqued, given feedback on as far as alignment goes. So you make sure that you're using your alignment tools within InDesign. If, obviously like you're laying out your work, you want to make sure everything's perfectly centered. It might look like it, visually, but, you want to make sure everything's on point. You want to make sure that you're, you have all of your typeface, your body copy, if it's centered, you want to make sure that the actual box is centered. And also, say if you use an image, you want to make sure that that's perfectly centered as well. If it's just slightly off, people are going to notice, and it's going to be a little kind of like people see that and, kind of say, oh, was this a mistake? So aligning your elements will help the eye as well kind of travel through your pieces with ease. Proximity, clumping together related elements so that their spatial relationships organize and emphasize. We talked about this before. Proximity, this is, you want to embrace the white space. Some of you guys do have issues with cramming everything in and not having enough visual pause in between each element. So you make sure that there's enough visual pause. You don't want anything too close to the logo. Say if you have it on a poster, the logo, say maybe it's on the top. You don't want to have copy too close to that. Your height, for instance, your headline, you don't want it to be too close. You want to give it enough white space. And when I say white space, that just means, space. Like for instance, on this example here, that the words "Oh, Roselle," and then the space in between that and the next grouping of the image, that's what's considered white space. So it's not necessarily a white color, but that's the space that I'm referring to. And this just helps the viewer visually put things together in a more organized way. And it makes it easier to understand each part, especially if you have like a lot of information on a page, for instance, your trifold, having that proximity is really important, because you want to organize all of those elements and you want to emphasize certain things so that the eye goes to one thing and you have a direct travel of where the eye should go, instead of just, having emphasis on everything and everything is running together, and it makes it harder to read, makes it harder to know where to start. So you want to make sure it's visually organized. And again, we talked about this the last time we met up. Just a few things to keep in mind. Limit the number of fonts on your page. Just like with anything, like color, if you get too far off with, if you get too many different colors or too many different fonts, you're going to have a disconnect. There's not going to be any cohesiveness with your piece. It's going to start disconnecting with what the whole visual theme is about. So limit the number of fonts on your page. Usually they say between 2 and 3 different typefaces. Well, what you could do is use a typeface that has a bigger typeface family. For instance, Helvetica New has tons of different families underneath it. So you have the bold and italic, condensed, and all those underneath that same typeface, which is nice, because then you can use that same typeface, but then use the different families as much as you want. It's the same typeface. It's keeping that consistency. All right. Another thing to kind of think about is the KISS method here. Keep it simple, stupid. Simple can be beautiful. This is something that can be learned right away, or it might take you a little longer. I know when I was a student, it took me a little longer to really fully understand and embrace this, because I think when you're a student, you kind of think that you have to put so much more into it to make it anything, but you need to edit your work. You need to edit it down to the simplest forms, because it will be more effective. So this is something that you always should be kind of working on. Colors, again, limit your colors. You don't want too many different colors. You want to really stick to, say if you're working with a certain brand, for instance, the Aqua brand, you want to make sure that you stick with those colors, and pick a color scheme that is appropriate for that brand or whatever visual message that you're putting out there. High value colors are high contrast, also easy to see. Stand out, make sure your designs are unique, distinct, and easily recognizable. That's some of the things that we discussed the last time we met up. All right, so also this is, some of you guys had some problems with this, so I wanted to do a little review here. And this is nice because on each of these slides, you can see how to convert your spot colors to process. So if you're still having issues with this, I did a step-by-step demo the last time that we did the lecture, but if you just want a simple, quick, step-by-step visual, this is would be nice for you guys for a review. So here my document currently has 2 spot colors. So you see the green and the purple, and in your swatch palette, the spot colors, you can recognize those because they have the little white triangle with a dot in it. And when you convert them, that little triangle and dot will go away. Now you can't see that here, but in the demo that I did, you will see that. My document currently has 2 spot colors. So what you're going to do to convert it from spot to process, you're going to select both of the swatches in the swatch window. Okay, so you're going to shift select those. And then select the swatch options under the little upper right corner of your panel with all those little lines. You're going to choose that little drop-down menu, and in the upper right corner of the swatches window, and you're going to choose swatch options, and you're going to change the spot to process in the drop-down. Now you could do this individually too. This is just an easy way to do it with a select all method, so that you're selecting both colors instead of doing one by one. So before, you can see in the color type, it was spot was selected. So you just do that little drop down menu and you'll see process as another choice. So in the after, you can see process was chosen, and then you'll hit OK. Notice in the swatches that the dot has been removed from the colors. Now this is what's wrong with these slides. The initial slide that showed you how they were spot colors, they didn't show the dots. So just kind of a heads up. Not sure why. Oh, they're showing the dots on the right. I think this is an old version of InDesign because now they show it with the dots actually in the color swatch here. They're talking about on the right-hand side here. See the dots kind of disappear on the right-hand side where you have the two squares. And then on the bottom, they disappear. So, and I'll show you how to spot this in the InDesign 2018 version. Go to Window, Output, Separations, Preview. This is how to check before PDF. So Window, Output, Separations, Preview. And always check before making a PDF for final press output. So this is just, you're just checking to see if there's any spot color. So with spot colors is shown on the left. Oops. So you see the green spot and purple spot. But if you without is on the right. So if you convert them, that's how it should look on the right. So you can see it's just CMYK is being shown because those are the process colors. They're not the spot colors. Process colors are CMYK. Okay, preparing a document for print. So there's some things that you need to think about before you go send a file off to another designer, another ad agency, freelance company, or even a printer if they need your files for print. So check the following 5 items. Spell check. This is something that sometimes is overlooked. Every program in Adobe has spell check. And I think sometimes we forget because, when you're in Word, you just think automatically you're writing a paper. Spell check. It's just one of those things. But when you're designing, sometimes you think, oh, I don't need to do this because I don't have that much copy, especially for a poster. But you would be surprised how many goof ups you could do on just one little poster. And I'm saying I've been there before. So spell check is super important. Even if you think you're fully confident, maybe you didn't see something, definitely worth double checking. Check your colors again. If you're printing on paper, process colors, you make sure that you have everything converted to process if there are no spot colors that are selected per the client's choice. Check for missing links and images. I can show you kind of how to check for that. Check for missing fonts. And again, I can show you where to look for that. Typically when you have missing fonts, you'll see your typeface in your body copy kind of turn pink in the background. That's just kind of telling you, hey, it's trying to find this typeface and it's missing. It's not linking it right. So say if you were to upload just your InDesign file to a final submission and I didn't have a certain typeface that you used, and I were to open it up on my end and I didn't have it on my computer, that typeface, it will come up. It'll convert it to another typeface that's more default typeface. It won't look the same. It'll have a pink background to the actual body copy box. So that's kind of a key sign there. I actually had a student who'd email me saying, I can't get rid of this pink background behind my type. And they sent me a screenshot and I said, well, that's because it's trying to link to a font that you used to have that set to. So, and obviously they didn't know that, and that's fine. I'm glad that, that was brought to my attention. I was able to help. But that's typically what that means. If you don't have a typeface and that's actually on your computer and you're trying to open it up, it's trying to link it, but you don't have it. All right, spell check. We kind of all talked about this. So yeah, definitely make sure everything is in check for your final prints. Again, this is kind of all the information we just went over. The only thing I see here, so links, look at images specs from the links palette. Make sure images are in CMYK mode. To change the mode from RGB to CMYK, you will need to do this in Photoshop. They're talking about images. All Photoshop images should be 300 pixels per inch at actual printed size. This is for print. Effective pixels per inch, so PPI as shown in the links palette, should be at least 300, but not much bigger. And Photoshop images should be saved as a TIFF, PSD, or JPEG. Try to eliminate layers from your TIFF file. Use the LZW compression to make the file size smaller. Only use PSD while necessary. So transparencies, technical blends, mask, etc. just because the file sizes will be large. So fonts, make sure all fonts are free of any problems in the fine font box. Convert trouble fonts to outlines. We will do a demo of this, so I'll show you how to do that. Bleeds and marks, make sure any item that needs to bleed off the page extends at least 1/8 off the document. When exporting as PDF, make sure bleeds are set to at least 1/8 in the marks and bleed section after clicking save when exporting as a PDF. And make sure all printer marks are selected. Do not use the defaulted document settings. Package the InDesign file and then zip it. So make sure your document is saved, then go to File and Package. This creates a new folder where a copy of your InDesign file is placed, along with the folder containing your fonts and another folder containing your links. So we will do a demo of this, and I have done this the last 2 lectures, but I will definitely go over it again. Create a PDF and place it in your package folder. Do this in InDesign by going to File and Export. Make sure the preset is on press settings and make sure your print marks are selected and bleeds are set to 1/8 minimum. So then the next step would be you're zipping the packaged folder, which also contains your PDF, by selecting the folder in the Finder, and go to File and Compress File Name. And I'll show you how to do this. This creates a file with the same name as your folder, but with a zip extension. This is the file you will open up into Canvas for this assignment. It is also what you will send to the printer via email when sending a job to the press. The compression is good because it compresses your file. So typically, usually, the file gets to be a little bit of a smaller file. All right, so let me go, before we get into your actual final project, let's go ahead and take a look at your discussions for this week, or discussion. Let's take a look at your learning objectives too. So this week, you will be walking away learning the following. So you're going to discuss the role color plays in the Big 4 design principles. Identify and determine the appropriate use of lossy and lossless compression. So if you're unsure about that, that's kind of what we're going to be discussing this week. So we'll definitely get some new information there. Differentiate between additive and subtractive color models. Differentiate between spot, Pantone, RGB, and CMYK color models. We kind of talked about that before. Define primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. Define tints, tones, and shades of color. Identify the following color schemes. So you have complementary, triadic, analogous, split complementary, and monochromatic. Identify and apply correct resolution for print output. Distinguish the similarities and differences between raster and vector graphics. Set up margins, gutters, and bleeds in a document for correct pre-press output. Create a packaged print-ready pre-press file. You can definitely take a look at this video here, a little short video about thinking outside of the box. Let's go to your discussion for this week. And again, make sure you're getting your initial post before midnight on Wednesday. Go ahead and read through the background information. Actually, there's a little video in here that goes with this, so you'll want to definitely check that out. I'm going to go ahead and skip forward to the prompt. So you are once again working with a client from week 3. You've gotten the job and have recreated this logo as a vector file. You are now ready to move on to work on brochures, billboards, and more. The owner of the company points you to their website once again for assets, telling you that the website is the only place they have photos to use. So for your initial post, please address the following questions. So number 1, will these photos work for the projects you have been hired to do? Why or why not? Number 2, how do you explain your dilemma to your client? Number 3, how does lossy and lossless compression figure into this? So you're going to want to read the background information and watch that little video if you're unsure of what loss and lossy means for this discussion. For your citation, you might use articles that describe lossy versus lossless compression, print versus web resolution, and color, or which file type is best for which job. And then when you're looking at your fellow student discussion posts, discuss the effectiveness of their response. You might consider addressing questions such as, what points came across well and which need further explanation? What might actually help clarify their points? Can you share resources that you found in your research that might help to clarify a point? Okay, so just kind of make sure you're hitting upon the reply requirements as listed below for your post for possible full credit. So I think this video will definitely help you give some good background information if you're unfamiliar with these terms. So make sure you're definitely watching that. And let me know if you have any questions going forward. Okay, so just a little heads up here. Your assignment 4 is your final campaign press ready project. And your assessment 4 is actually a quiz. And there's no time limit. So this might be something that you'll want to tackle first before you get onto your project, or after. It's completely up to you. But you'll need to know kind of the 10 things here, to kind of be familiar, a little bit more familiar with before taking the quiz. So differentiate between additive and subtractive color models. Make sure you can differentiate between spot, Pantone, RGB, and CMYK color models. Make sure you can define primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. Define tints, tones, and shades of color. Identify the following color schemes: complementary, triadic, analogous, split, complementary, monochromatic. Identify and apply correct resolution for print output. Discuss the role color plays in Big 4 design principles. Distinguish the similarities and differences between raster images and vector graphics. Set up margins, gutters, and bleeds in a document for correct pre-press output. And create a package print ready pre-press file. So this quiz is based on the readings, videos, and classwork you completed this mod. Be careful to read the question to help discourage cheating. Some questions will seem just like others, but the values have changed, or what is asked for is changed. Be sure you know what the question is asking for and the values to use. There are 11 questions in the quiz, and it is not timed. So that's the quiz. Another thing to kind of be aware of before we get to your assignment 4, not only do you have a discussion, an assessment, but you also have a career integration, just like you do every mod if you've had a class here. So make sure you're reading through this and, giving a very thorough, specific reflection post based on all of the questions that they have prompted here. When I say specific, talk about maybe the specific projects that you worked on in this class, specific methods and techniques maybe that you learned. So, as thorough and specific as you can be, the more points that you're going to get. And that's an extra 15 points. So that can definitely change a grade if need be. All right, so let's go back to the assignment here. You're going to want to read through the background before getting started. I'm going to shoot right to the prompt. So this assignment is to prepare you for the correct way to send files to printers. The design revisions you receive from me would be what a client may tell you. So these must be fixed before sending to press, or it will be a very expensive reprint for the designer. So make sure you're going back, reading my feedback, and making those necessary changes before going forward with this assignment. look at my feedback on the technical issues and fix everything that was noted. Learning what needs to be sent to the printer correctly the first time will save you time and even money. If your files are not correctly set up correctly, the printer can fix them, but they will charge you, and it will be in addition to the bid. So you will have to pay those fixes, not your client. That's not good. You must incorporate design and technical revisions per my feedback on the following projects from this mod. So week 2, poster, week 3, brochure, and week 3, signage. So your pre-press requirements for your poster and brochure are all images converted to the correct color model, all images placed at correct resolution for print, images not scaled above or below industry standard, all images saved with the appropriate file type, bleeds correctly implemented, margins and gutters properly positioned, and your signage, that's for your poster and brochure. Your signage, logo and text colors correctly set for the spot colors output. Aspect ratio for enlarging is correct, and all elements are properly created to be fully scalable for enlargement. So those are some things that you'll need to think about for the pre-press requirements. Submission requirements. So your poster and brochure, you're going to create a package for print, file pretty much out of InDesign. Poster and brochure, you're going to create a press quality PDF as well. Your signage, you're going to have the native file and a press quality PDF together. You're going to create a folder named DES114, assignment 4, first and last name. You're going to place all the files from 1 to 3. So they're talking about 1 to 3. I can show you here, 1 to 3. Into the folder you create in step 4. You're going to zip the folder and upload the zipped file. Now, there's a little note in here. It says if the zipped folder file is too large for Canvas to upload. So if you are trying to upload this file and it's huge and you're having issues, it's not uploading, and you just can't get it up there, go back, place the PDF into the package folder and zip each one separately. So you'll provide 3 zipped files with a PDF in the package folders. So it'll be 3 separate zipped files that you'll be sending instead of 1. The sign would have the PDF and the AI compressed together. The name would change to DES assignment 4 poster, last name. So it would be, named after which, if you're doing them individually zipped, you want to name them as such. So the poster would have its own name, the brochure would have its own name, and the signage. This is only if you're having issues submitting the one complete zip file. Create web-friendly JPEGs of your campaign and upload them to your Behance site. So if you don't have a Behance site, you're going to have to get one. It's a free membership. It's a very cool website for sure. And once you kind of sign up for it, if you haven't already, you'll be uploading your JPEGs for this campaign. Then you're going to email your FPA with a link to the project, and you're going to CC me on that email. Okay, and I'll kind of go over a few things as we go forward here. Let me know if you have any questions. Pretty much a lot of this is just revising and getting it back into your zipped file, zipping it all together. Okay, so let's start with your poster. Let me open up my poster here from the demo that I did. And this is in InDesign. So just make sure you're making the necessary changes. If I said something like, pull the headline down closer to the body copy. You're going to adjust it. Maybe you need to reorganize or reset your alignment for your body copy. You know, maybe you need to make your logo smaller. Maybe your logo's stretched. You need to go back into Illustrator to fix that and then bring it back into here. I know some of you guys had that issue. Maybe your body copy is not readable, but just adding a little drop shadow would help, you know, kind of adjusting small things. And I guess the smart thing would be to open all your pieces together. See if they actually are cohesive. Do they look like they come from the same brand? That would be a smart thing to do. Okay, so the poster, what you're going to do is you're going to check for a couple things here. And let's see, where are we going back here? Okay. Window output separations preview is what we talked about. So if you open this window and you see more colors than what you see here, you know you have spot colors that you shouldn't have. So you should see what I'm seeing here. You should see the CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. If you have any more additional colors, you probably have spot colors in there. So you need to fix that. And again, if you need to fix a color, let's just add a spot color in here really quick. Let me take the little eyedropper tool. I'm just going to select that. Oops. And let me see here. Oops. I'm just going to double click on this. I double click on my actual color and I change it to spot. It's going to add the little dot right here. So that's a spot color. Now watch when I go back to window. Output separations preview. Now I have that new color swatch listed down there, and I don't want that, right? I don't want that to be a Pantone color. So how do I change that? Double click right on top of it, go to color type and select process, click OK. So now when I go up to window, output separations preview, that won't be listed under there, so I'm good. Make sure that your fonts, let's get rid of this. What I would do is check, let me see here. All the way at the very bottom of your document, you'll notice it says here, no errors. You might have some errors. If you do, it'll be red and you'd have to define the profiles just to see what's going on. So if there were linked images that were trying to be linked that weren't on your computer, you might have an error here. You might want to check your links. Go to Window Links. Again, this is in InDesign. If this image were missing, the kayak, it would have one of these exclamation point next to it. And it would say, when you hover over it, you know, it would say linking issue. So you want to make sure you have no issues. If you need to relink it, you need to relink it. Make sure your images are TIFF files, CMYK. I showed how to convert that 300 pixels per inch. You can see that by clicking right on the link itself. All the pixels per inch, CMYK, color space, format TIFF. That's all very important for printing purposes. All right, so when you're ready to say you made the necessary changes, you want to make a PDF. So again, File, Adobe PDF Presets, press Quality, save this on the desktop. You don't have to worry about bleeds for this one as far as showing the marks and bleeds. I would leave that go. Well, you could though. Let me see here. Yeah, you could do that. So you could choose crop marks, bleeds, and then use document bleed settings. Click export. And then before you close out, before you package your file, let's save it as a JPEG for your Behance site. So go ahead and go File, Save As. Oops, not Save As, sorry. File, Export. And where it says Format, you're going to click the drop-down menu and choose JPEG. And just save it as a JPEG. everything could be, you know, everything is good. Maximum 300 RGB is fine because this is for the web. That looks good. So that'll be on my desktop. Now, this is how you package a file. So go up to File, go down to Package, and this is going to give you a summary of your information. 5 fonts used, anything missing, anything, fonts. You can check your fonts here. If there's any issues here, you can definitely see that. As far as links and images go, this is just showing you how many links and images you have in your document. Are they linked? Are they not linked? What type? You have a PDF and a CMYK, TIFF file. Colors and inks, again, if you had a spot color, it'll show up here. I don't, so that looks good. Click Package, say Continue. And then with this, just make sure they include PDF is not selected because we already made a PDF. We don't really need that. But everything else should be checked, just like I have here. And then hit Package. And let me show you what it looks like on my desktop. I'm going to share my desktop here real quick. Okay, so I did the JPEG. Oops, let's hide that. Here's the JPEG. I don't know why this is not hiding here. Oh, hi Daniel. Kind of going through this demo here. So let me hide this so I can show you what's on my screen. And now my chat boxes are in the way. Okay, so here's the JPEG that I just did. Here's the PDF I just created, and here's the package folder just for the poster that I did. So the JPEG is what you'll be submitting on Behance. So, you know, I would definitely do a folder, do a new folder, and name this Behance, and throw the JPEGs in there. And then I create a new another folder and name this Final Project. Whatever you kind of want to name that. And see this PDF that I just created? This is the press quality PDF. I would just throw this in that package folder for the poster. So you have all of your files in here, including the PDF. So here's your folder. So this is just for the poster. Go ahead and throw that in your final project folder, and we'll kind of be adding to that. Okay, let me go back to my poster here. Okay, the next thing on the list in your assignment for instructions is to also incorporate the brochure. Make sure you make the necessary changes. Go back, listen, you know, read through my feedback, make the changes necessary. Make sure your images, take them into Photoshop, make sure they're all the right color mode. So it should be CMYK. I shouldn't have any RGB images. They should all be TIFF images as well, except for maybe the logo. Logo might be different. Everything's readable and nothing kind of looks off balance. Make sure your typefaces and your fonts are all good. Go up to Window again, like I showed you just recently. Go to Output, Separations Preview, and check to see if there's any spot colors that need to be taken off. This looks good. All CMYK, we're good there. Again, no errors down here. This looks good. But if you wanted to double check, go up to Window, choose Links, and you can check, you know, your linked images. Mine look all linked up to the original folder. If you had any issues, you'd see a yellow exclamation point next to each one that you'd have to relink them. But mine looks good. All right, so just make, you know, the necessary changes. And then you'll need to save this again as a press quality PDF. So go up to File and Adobe Presets, Press Quality. I'm just going to save it on my desktop for now. And this is the trifold. Hit Save. And then make sure we can also do marks and bleeds here. Crop marks, bleed marks, and then use document bleed settings. But you know, everything here you definitely can look at. These are the compression. This usually is a default setting, so you don't really need to change anything there. Click export. So it's going to export your PDF, press quality PDF. Before we even look at that, let's go ahead and save this as 2 JPEGs for your Behance site. So go up to File, Export. Where it says Format, choose JPEG. And what it's going to do when you do this, it's going to separate 2 JPEGs so you don't have to do individually. Click Save if you have this selected all. Make sure your quality is maximum, 300 pixels per inch, RGB, that all is good. Click on the Use Document Lead Settings, click Export. Might take a little while here. Okay, once you're done with that, let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. Share my desktop. It's really important to be organized for this project because you have a lot of little pieces going on here. So here's the 2 JPEGs for the brochure. There's 2 because there's 2 different pages. So here's the 1 page. Here's the second page on the inside. So you'll be posting these as separate JPEGs on your Behance site. So you want the 2 JPEGs in there. Okay. Then here's the PDF. So you make sure your bleeds are set right. You have crop marks going on, trim marks, crop marks are showing. Everything looks good. Open up the PDF, just make sure it looks good. Sometimes you might see issues. And the next thing is just packaging the project. So let's go ahead and do that. Just like you did for the poster and how I showed you in the poster, go up to File, Package. Make sure there's nothing weird in here. You know, you can see your fonts being used. You can see links being found. You can actually click on your fonts just like I showed you before. See if they're all looking good. CMYK, these all look great. If you see, there is one that is RGB. This one I need to change. So this is a really good, good thing to show you guys. If you see an image that is RGB, this needs to be changed. This is the Kayak 4 one. So I'm going to cancel this out. Let's go ahead and find that Kayak 4 one. So go up to Window, Links. This is a good way to see where that's at. Kayak 4. So that's this one. This one's still RGB. So if you click on that, look below here. There's actually a link information. It tells me the name, the format, the color space. So I need to change that. I need to go to Photoshop. So immediately I'm going to go right into Photoshop here. And I'm going to open up that file. And let me see here, desktop IU. See links. Give me 1 second here. I'm not sure where they're at. There it is. So I'm going to open up that TIFF file, and I'm just going to go ahead and go up to Image in Photoshop, go to Mode, and choose the CMYK color mode instead of the RGB. Okay. And then save. Just file save. That's all you need to do. Yeah, well, whenever we are saving it as JPEG, they will be converted to RGB automatically. Good question, though. So this is for print right now. So his question was, shouldn't the images be in RGB for online for Behance? And that is correct. So when I had showed you to save these out as JPEGs just now, it shows you that the images are RGB. Like it automatically converts it as a JPEG, if that makes sense. Yep, no problem. That's a great question for sure. So what I'm showing you here, when you package, okay, so let me switch out. I'm gonna show you how to switch out this photo very easily too. Go up to links, oops, window links. So I just saved that as the same file, but I just converted it. So now I wanna make sure that this is linked. I'm going to relink to that one that I actually just put in there. I think it was this one. Hopefully we'll see here. Nope, that wasn't it. I can tell because the RGB is there. Did I save this to the desktop? Give me 1 second here. I think that's the one that I. Here, let me save that. Let me go back to, you guys aren't going to see what I'm doing here. I'm going to save this to the desktop so that I know, because I have a whole bunch of folders here that I'm getting confused on. RGB. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I need to swap this photo out. So I would just click on this photo one time and then see where it says links. I would go all the way down to where it says relink, click on that, and then I'm going to relink this to the one that I just saved. It should automatically replace it, but mine was all messed up. Okay, now you'll see the color space is CMYK. That's exactly what I want. Now we're going to package this. File, package, again, like I just showed you. Although now we shouldn't have any color, or I'm sorry, all of my images should be CMYK and TIFF files. Yep, looks good. So I'm just gonna hit package, continue. And again, I don't have to click on the PDF because I already have one, the press quality. But all of these other selections should be chosen. I'm gonna save it to my desktop. You guys can save it to wherever you have your own file management set up here, hopefully. And okay, so now, where's my folder? There we go. So now here's my folder that I just packaged, but it doesn't have the PDF in it. It just has my native file, it has my links, has my fonts. So I'm gonna throw this PDF, double click on it, make sure it looks good. Press quality PDF. I'm gonna throw that one into this folder. Okay, so here's my brochure folder, and here are my 2 JPEG RGB files. I'm gonna throw these into my Behance, the JPEG ones into Behance, and I'm gonna throw this one into my final project. So now I have my poster, and I have my trifold package. Behance, I have poster JPEG and my trifold. So that's kind of the steps to go. The next thing is your signage, week 3 signage. And that was done in Illustrator, so you need to open that up in Illustrator. And actually, let me open this up in Illustrator. I don't have mine ready to go. Hold on 1 second, guys. Sorry, I didn't have this. I thought I had this ready, but I guess I didn't. Assessment 3. There we go. Is this the same font that I use? Let me just do a real quick check here. Yeah, this is the same color. I confused myself because I actually did a different color that you just saw, the yellow one, in another demo. So I want to make sure I had the same color signage piece. Okay, so go back to Illustrator, open up your signage pieces. If there's anything that you need to change, go ahead and change it. Do your revisions. Make sure it's landscape, not portrait. You know, some of you guys did portrait. Make sure, you might want to do some outlines for your type. Go, select the type. When you're done editing it, go up to type, create outlines. But at this point, if you do that, I would do a file save as and save this as a outline variation, just so that if you have any other changes to it with the type, you'll be able to change it. Right now, when you convert from a font to an outline, you cannot go back and use your type tool to change the typeface. because it's actually a shape now. It's no longer a font. Okay. So when you that's a good question. So Daniel said, what happens when you outline text? So it goes from being a typeface to a shape. So I'll show you here real quick. So this is a typeface, and I know it because I can actually select it with the type tool. Let me bring up the type. Oh, hold on, guys. Getting a call from my mom. That's what happens when you're in lecture. Your mom calls you. All right, so I can actually select it with the type tool. Yep, exactly. Yep. Where or say if you're having issues with the fonts, say if you send it to a printer and they're not actually being able to upload it to their computers, you would need to, that would be a solution for that. So this is a font, I can go in and change it, change whatever. But once you do the type outlines, watch what happens to the actual, let me zoom in here. You can actually see it change, create outlines. You can actually see it if you take this direct selection tool. You can actually see that it's no longer a typeface because now you have these vector points that you could take your direct selection tool and actually move them almost like it's a shape. And what's nice about that, not only with just manipulating it if you need to, but if you were to send it to somebody, they wouldn't need a typeface with it. They would just, it wouldn't have to sync up or anything. It's almost like sending a PDF. Only that, it's not going to be a flat file. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. The only bad thing is you can't go back unless you save the original file, prior to outlining it. So there's been many instances where I've worked on projects where I forgot to do that. And then a client comes back to you and says, oh, I want to make all these changes, and you have to go back and reset the type because I didn't save the original native file, and all of my type is converted to outlines. So it's kind of like a learning process. Sometimes you learn quicker that way by making mistakes and not to do it again. All right, so now what we need to do, let me see what the instructions, I'm going to flip to Canvas. I know you guys can't see this, but the signage here, it says you need to make sure the logo and text colors are correctly set for spot color output. So you just make sure their spot color. Aspect ratio for enlarging is correct. All elements are properly created to fully scalable enlargement. Okay. So we're going to do, for signage, for the submission requirements, is you're going to have the native Illustrator file as well as the press quality PDF. So you're going to save this file, and you could do the outline file. That's fine. I'm going to save this to the desktop here. And then I'm going to do a export as, oh, sorry, file save as, going from different programs. You're going to save it as an Adobe PDF. And when you click save, this is where you can change it. If you drop down the PDF preset menu to press quality, everything else should be set. You don't have to do marks and bleeds for this. The only thing that I would suggest before actually creating the PDF is putting an outline to your background. If you have a white box, just do a regular square the size of your signage here. Oh, I'm sorry, Daniel, I didn't get to your question here. It says, would this be used if you using AI native file? Yes. Yep. Sorry about that. So I'm going to do a box the same size as my background here and give it a very thin black border. So like a 0.5 or 0.125. The only reason why I say this before you do a PDF is because when you create a JPEG from this, and you upload it for Behance, it's sometimes not gonna, it's gonna be hard to see what this is, what the actual border is. So I would definitely do a thin border before you save it as a PDF, and then also more so for a JPEG, I guess, because that JPEG will be placed online on the actual, if you accidentally forget that and then you see how it's placed in Behance without that border, then you'll say, oh yeah, I forgot, because you'll notice it. Okay, go file to file, export, save as, and you're going to choose JPEG next, because you want to place the signage also on the Behance site. Now, color model, this is where you change it, RGB, because you're an illustrator now, you have to change this to RGB, just like Daniel was asking about that. 300 pixels per inch, everything looks good. Okay. And now I'm going to show you what this looks like on my desktop here. So here's my JPEG. You can actually open it up just to take a look at it. You can see the little black border here. That's my JPEG. Here's my PDF. I would definitely open up the PDF just to take a look at it. It looks good. And then my AI file. You don't have to package your signage because it's an Illustrator file, but you do have to have the native Illustrator file with your PDF. So what I would do is just create a new folder, and I would name this signage and throw those two in there. And then I would put this signage in your final project folder. The final project folder is basically what we've been doing. You can name it DES. Actually, I would probably do that. DES114. I believe this was assessment 3. I did put that in there. Okay, so you have all 3 of your identity pieces in there. Then put the JPEG in your Behance. Any questions so far? You're good to go. So what we did so far was we actually did submission requirements, poster and brochure so far. See if I can highlight this. Poster and brochure, press quality, signage, create a folder. Okay, so my final folder should be named this. So I'll go ahead and copy this and rename that. Place all the files from 1 to 3. That's what I was just showing you. I put it in a final folder into that named folder. And then zip the folder and upload the zipped file. Okay. Oops. So I'm going to go back to my desktop. I'm going to rename this again because I forgot that they actually named the final folder. So there you go. There's my final folder. So I'm going to zip this folder, just this folder. I'm going to leave the Behance, kind of set it aside because I'm going to get to that in a second. So if you're on a Mac, you'll hit Control-click on top of the folder and compress, or you can just select the folder, go up to File, and compress. It might take a little while. It's a big file. It's 230 megabytes. If you have issues with uploading this file, you'll have to do the separate 3 zips instead of just 1, because it is a pretty big file. That's why they say don't wait till the last minute to upload, because you might have issues. So if that one does not submit, you'll need to do 3 separate compressions. So I would do, like, first one I would go up to compress. That would be 1. Second one, I would do the same thing with all 3 of these. So you'd have 3 zipped files instead of 1. That makes sense. And then you would just separately upload them instead of doing the one big one. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Okay. Yeah, they're probably going to be big files. So just kind of a heads up, you might want to start early if it takes a while to upload. All right. And it shows you a little note here about that too. The next thing that you want to do is create web-friendly JPEGs of your campaign and upload them to your Behance site. You're going to email your advisor with a link to the project and then CC me on that actual email of that link. So if you don't have a Behance membership, you'll need to get one. And it's free. Here's mine. I'm going to show you mine. Mine might look a little different than yours because I actually have, you might have a lot of projects too, but I actually have a lot of projects, somewhat of a lot of projects on mine. So you're going to create your profile. If you have not done this yet, it's free. Just go to behance.net, create your profile. You could just do a very simple one, at this point. And you won't see anything on the right-hand side here, like you can see my projects, obviously, if you don't have any. But when you're ready to go, remember that folder that I had all the JPEGs in, I should say? So that's the folder that you're going to access for this. So when you're ready to upload your work, you're going to go to, you're going to add, where am I? My folder. Okay. I actually changed this. Why does this look different? Let's see, go to activity here. There used to be a little link that you could actually click on. Go back to my profile here. Zoom out. Interesting. I don't know why I don't have a create a new project here unless I'm not seeing it. Huh. I'm going to Adobe Portfolio. Build my own portfolio. That's not what I want. Hold on, guys. This kind of changed the last time I was on it. And this was recent, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Projects. Let's see. Edit profile. I don't want that. There used to be a little button that said add your work. And I'm not sure. I'm not seeing it here. So I think what I'm going to do give me 1 second. I'm going to try to figure this out. Interesting. Interesting, you guys. I'm like trying to figure out what is this going on here. Let's do a little search here. This is just a general search here. Sorry, guys. This is like the first time this ever happened. And I've been teaching this class for a long time. And it's probably something I'm totally just overlooking here. I want to edit profile because that's all that I want in there. Share your work. There used to be a button up here that said create a project. Interesting. I don't know if it's because I have too many on there now. Maybe that's what they're, maybe that's my issue here. So if you, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Let me log out of here and let me do a new one. I want to do a new one though. wonder if I'm actually logged in here. Let me actually, hold on, let me stop sharing here. I'm wondering if I'm not logged in properly. Guys, don't mind me trying to figure this out here. Okay, thank you, Daniel. Thanks for joining me. Sorry, I'm kind of, like got cut up here. Okay, let me just copy my Adobe ID in here, which of course is not right. Okay. Okay. All right, so I guess you have to choose the share your work button, which I didn't think that would be the case here. Let me see if I'm actually sharing my screen. So I just hit share your work, and now I'm in my content bar here where I can actually upload files. So this is what you would need to do. So start building, you would have to actually choose share your work. This actually changed the last time I did this demo, and that's why I was a little confused there. So share your work would be what you want to choose, and then go to upload files. Sorry guys. Go to Behance, and then I would choose, you know, the project or the kind of like the centerpiece that you want to have first for your cover photo. It doesn't matter what order that you're in, just as long as you have your pieces, and you want your trifold to be in order. Click open here. You can actually do a shift select if you want to select all of them together, and click open, choose open. And this should open up all of your pieces. You know, these are the JPEGs that you exported out. And you'll see in here, if you can actually make this smaller, let me see. You could probably just leave it as that. Looks good. It's a poster, it's supposed to be bigger. But you can see this signage piece that, remember I told you to put like a dark border on if you were to do a lighter background that's white. So you can actually see it. If this wasn't here, it would kind of look, you know, just the logo sitting there. It would look kind of weird. So now you can kind of see it's a signage piece if it's not an actual mock-up. And then you have your two JPEGs of your trifold. Okay, and when you're ready, just click continue or save, depending on which step you want to go. Continue will just go to the next process step. Save will just save it, and then you can go back to that same page. This is where this cover preview is basically how you're going to see what's being shown on your Behance as a kind of an icon. So you can adjust this if you want to just show like the top part and the bottom part, and move this around. You can actually zoom in, and you'll see that's what it'll look like on the left, but you can adjust it on the right. So if you wanted to just show this, you know, as part of your icon, that's kind of where you put that. Now, it's up to you if you want to just put the Aqua Excursions identity system, or if you want to put our class, you know, course number in there, you can do that as well. Crop and continue. And then here's basic information. So you can add creative fields, you can add branding or graphic design to this. Select that. Tools used, you can add the Adobe Creative Suite, or specifically Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. Co-owners, you could just leave that blank, copyright and license blank, everything else looks good, and hit publish when you're done. And when you hit publish, that's when it'll be live and ready to view online. And then you can actually promote your work here, social media-wise. So you have Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. But this is the link that you'll want to copy and place in the email that you're going to send to your advisor and CC me on. So you'll want to select all and do a Command C for copy. And then when you're ready, go into your email, paste that link, send it to your advisor, and CC me on that. All right, so you want to make sure that your project looks good. Just go back to your profile. And your project should be ready to view, and it should look like this or similar to this. So if you wanted to edit it, you just click on the little pen tool. You can edit it here. If you wanted to like rearrange stuff, or say you made an additional change, you needed to swap out the images, you could do that way. If you wanted to just view it, click right on top of that icon, and you can actually scroll down and view your work. You can make comments, or people can add comments if you have that comment box open. But that's basically how it works. And then that link is really super important for you guys to email your advisor and copy me on that so that I know that you completed this part of the project. Alrighty, let me actually delete this. I'm going to show you how to delete it completely. I'm going to go up to the little pen icon and just go right down to delete. So it's kind of the intuitive way that the program's set up. So you can actually delete the whole thing if you wanted to as well. All right, so let's go back to Canvas to see if we have all of the things that we needed to be included here. Actually, I already have that open. This looks good. Okay, so basically we just went over all of this step by step here, all the way down here. So we're pretty much set for all of the things that you guys need to do. Just make sure you're going back and making the necessary changes that I gave you feedback on the past couple weeks, and make sure all of your bleeds are implemented right, all of your margins and gutters are properly positioned, you have everything converted properly color-wise, and all of the images are correctly placed in for print, 300 pixels per inch, converted to TIFFs. The next step would be just kind of the submission requirements. All right, let me switch over to my PowerPoint. And I think that's pretty much everything that we have to cover tonight here. All right, yeah, so we're actually going back to just the student critique. We actually don't have an open critique forum, so you don't have to worry about this. But maybe in regards to the discussions, giving that focused, constructive feedback to the discussions for this week, it's important to focus on the strengths, what you like about, what they're talking about in question, provide kind of like poking holes in their theories. If they have maybe didn't see something in a certain perspective, you can kind of bring it to their attention. And then just kind of reiterate the positive comments that you saw in their post. All right, so don't forget, you guys have to have your discussion posts in for the initial discussion on Wednesday before midnight, that's Mountain Time, and respond to 2 separate peers on different days before this Saturday by midnight Mountain Time. And there will be kind of no kind of grace period for this week. You have to have everything in by midnight on Saturday because grades will be due pretty much soon after. So You know, if you have late work from last week, make sure you get that in. All right, guys, that's pretty much all that I have for you guys tonight. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Don't forget, I will be here tomorrow evening, the same time for the multi-session. If you need extra help, come visit me. All right, have a great night.